Hello, my name's Quentin Payne of Legendary Business Owners, and we're talking about Semantic Mastery. This is an organization that started life in 2013 in order to pioneer the new SEO, also known as Web 3.0 or the Semantic Web. And in this Hangout, we're going to be talking to Bradley Benner, who's the Semantic Mastery Supremo, about content syndication and automation. Now, if you think automation is dead in the Web 3.0 world of politically correct SEO, then you're in for a big surprise. So, welcome, Bradley.
Hey, Quentin, how you doing, man?
I'm doing really good.
Good.
So, content syndication has been around since the earliest newspapers. Charles Dickens, for example, had his content serialized and then, of course, syndicated amongst many magazines, etc. It's also been a hot topic over the past couple of years on the internet, along with things like content curation, which I'm pretty sure we'll cover in another Hangout. So what exactly is content syndication, and more interestingly, how can it be used effectively in the context of the semantic web?
Well, this is one of my favorite subjects, so I'm going to try to keep my responses brief but informative nonetheless. Well, first let's start with content. What is content? Well, in digital content can be pretty much anything. It can be written, as in blog posts or articles. It can be video. It can be audio. Social media updates, anything online basically can be considered content. And you mentioned newspapers. Newspapers being syndicated was one of the earliest forms of content syndication, was newspapers being distributed, mass distribution. And we see that today with press releases. You know, somebody publishes a press release and they want to get that out. So what do? They go to a PR distribution network and they submit it. And it gets syndicated out across a bunch of channels, and it hopefully gets picked up by other websites, other blogs. It can get printed in newspapers. It can also get broadcast via TV and or radio. Okay, so that's content syndication 101.
Yeah, do you know what, that sort of puts a lie to a commonly spread myth at the moment that content syndication is all spam. I mean, this is all the major corporations and companies in the world do this. It's expected. So I mean, it's good that you said that.
Absolutely, it's absolutely necessary. And you know, and we're going to get into spam in just a minute. But you know, that what's interesting is content syndication, digital syndication. One of the earliest forms, which is still around today and still very much viable, is RSS. Okay, which really stands for Rich Site Summary. Although most people know it as real simple syndication.
Yeah.
And RSS is just one of the earliest forms of digital syndication, in which people would go to a website, okay, a publication, a digital publication that they liked, and they would subscribe via RSS feed to be notified of new content when it was posted. And so basically every time that publication would post a new blog post, article, whatever, it would notify all of the subscribers, hey, there's new content, come check it out.
Yes.
Okay? And from that point, the more social approach began when social bookmarking emerged onto the scene, which was, again, many years ago now. And social bookmarking was really the first form of people being able to put their own flavor on what kind of content they liked, and they would collect links to content and then share them, and sometimes categorize them into folders and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and, you mean like Dig and other sites like that?
Correct. And there's still social bookmarking sites around today. They're just not near as effective as they used to be because of the onset of social media as we know it now. Okay, but and some people still love using social bookmarking. In fact, I use social bookmarking for my business as well. But it's just a very small piece of the pie now. You know.
Yes.
And then as far as social media has, you know, obviously evolved. It's evolved with content. When we see, and let me put a little disclaimer on this right now. This Hangout is not about social media. This is about content syndication. However, you cannot talk about content syndication without including social media. So yes, we will have another Hangout in the weeks to come, more specifically dealing with social media. But with how social media has evolved into what it is today. We think about syndication when people share via Facebook. So Facebook shares, tweets and retweets, Google Plus shares,
Yes.
pins and repins with Pinterest. There's blog and reblog with Tumblr. Okay, there's so many of them. I'm not going to name them all. We don't have enough time in the day to name them all. But the point
Bradley,
is,
I've just got to stop you. I've just got to send this tweet off right now.
and you know what? That's what's funny about it is the fact, like, how did we ever live without social media? If you look back, you know, like, how did we live without it? But think about all the content that you consume as an online professional throughout the week, and it comes at you from all angles now, from all different kinds of platforms. Well, that's all being syndicated. That's syndication content. I mean, unless you are actually going to the content source's blog or website and reading it there, you're probably reading content or consuming, ingesting content that has come to you from a syndication platform. Yes. Via syndication, okay? And so that's my point. Like, you know, I think where people have the negative feelings about content syndication is the spammy stuff that SEOs have been doing for the last several years. That you know, and that's where we get into web spam. And let me bring up, part of your question was, how does syndication work with the semantic web? How do we apply it properly with the onset of the semantic web? And that's a great question, because that brings me to the point of the web spam. You know, because of the stuff that SEOs have always done, when links were the #1 reason why content would rank in the search engines, it's too easy to game that kind of thing. You know, one of the ways to combat spam is to actually require that the content has an identity behind it, somebody claiming it, okay, taking ownership of the content. And it's so much. Let's put it this way, just to give an example. If you were looking for information about a product, service, whatever you were trying to find information about, and you found 2 decent pieces of content, they're on 2 different websites, and you look at the content sources, and again, they could both, I'm not talking about crappy, spammy, spun content. I'm talking about just decent articles, but you take a look at them, and you follow it down to the bottom where the author box generally is, and it gives credit to the author. And one is no picture at all, and there's no other links going out to other, you know, social media channels where you can find out about the author. Or maybe there's a picture, but there's very, or you click on the picture to go find out who this guy is that wrote this article, or this girl is who wrote this article, and you don't see really any connections to anything else, or you find empty social profiles. Are you going to trust that article?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Good point. Yes.
So,
yes.
But if you take the same type of an article, it could, you know, it could be the same article for that matter, and you follow it down, and there's, you know, there's a clear identity there, and there's the social media links to the Google Plus and the Twitter and the Facebook and LinkedIn and all of this, and you click those links and you follow them back, and you see that there's activity in those profiles and that there's followers and friends and all that. You know, which one are you going to trust more? And that's one way to put an identity on content. And so in the semantic web, it's important for to use content syndication properly, to build, well, first of all, to help you with search engine rankings is one reason, but more than that, it's for building authority and branding, whether it's personal branding, professional branding, or corporate branding. Content syndication is a branding tool as well.
This makes a lot of sense. I think recently Matt Cutts has, you know, gone on record as saying stop guest blogging, but of course he's subject to dealing with spam all the time. So it's a bit like a policeman saying everybody's a criminal, because back here in the real world, as the world of press releases and good content written by people and hosted on other sites, it's completely legitimate and is part of the whole structure, because the web's so young. This is the point. So it's good that you said this. I think it's a really important point.
Well, and you said, and I read that same article that you're talking about with Matt Cutts talking about guest posting is kind of considered spammy now, and it's because, once again, it's because of SEOs trying to gain page rank, and you know, and that, so it's okay to still do guest posting, but if you know, you're supposed to follow the links, right? And that's so that you're not gaming page rank. But you know, the thing is, if you got good content and you're syndicating it out to the proper places, and it's got links in it that are even no followed, people are still going to find you. They're going to click through if it's, you know, if it's defense, if the content is compelling enough, they'll click through and be introduced to your funnel anyways.
Yeah.
And so, You know, again, from a pure SEO perspective, I can understand, you know, wanting to leave the do follow links and the guest posting, and also content syndication, and having the ambiguous content out there on unrelated or even related sites, but you know, that kind of stuff, all the automation stuff that we're talking about now, which was to gain page rank and to get that little extra boost, you know. But in the semantic web, that's dangerous. You know, you don't want to be labeled as a spammer, because you're not going to recover from that. So with a little bit of thought, you know, and a little bit of social engineering, you can still accomplish the same kind of results that you were looking for without it being so spammy.
Yes. Well, you've just mentioned automation, which of course is the second part of this. It's something that many people now consider to be a dangerous thing to do. However, I know from speaking to you before that automation is actually a brilliant thing to do. And just one thing on this. If it wasn't for people like Henry Ford bringing in mass production techniques, we wouldn't be where we are today. And so if we look back a little bit earlier, when I was talking about the web being very young, it is extremely young. So there's a lot of you know, misinformation and the rest. So tell us a bit more about automation.
Well, I absolutely love automation. You know, I use it for my business, and I think it's necessary if used properly. You know, as far as there's two ways to get recognition properly, okay, for your business, for your brand, all right, and that's one is to get search engine rankings, is certainly, as from an SEO's perspective, that's generally what we try to do, right? But why do we want the search engine rankings? Well, we want it for exposure, right? I mean, that's what we're looking for. That's the end goal. So how do we do that without being so spammy, without using spun content and you know, going out and spamming other websites in hopes to get the link back, which will gain page rank, which will give us the ranking? Well, if you create good content, and I know everybody says that's the pie in the sky type thing, but your content doesn't have to be viral. That's the other way to get it, okay, is to create viral, you know, content that goes viral, and then naturally other people promote your content, and you get the social signals, the links, you get all of that, and that's great, and that's you know, if you can pull that off, then by all means that's what you should be doing. But I don't think that that's usually accidental. I mean, I think sometimes it's accidental, even when it's planned to be intentional.
Yes.
And so how do we, using automation, you can kind of help nudge content along. Now, you might not have the best piece of content in the world, but if it's decent content that would be valuable to people that would find that interesting, whatever topic it may be on, then you're left on your own. If you just publish it out on your site, who's going to come see it? Probably only people that have already, you know, visitors that are returning visitors. It's very limited. But using automation, you can basically push that content out to a much broader audience. And in my opinion, you should be doing that. And for example, you know, when you set up your social networks, whether it's for a business or yourself, like I said, you want to brand those. You want to have your name on that, company name, personal name, whatever. You want to have your name on that, and those are your properties. They're an extension of you, an extension of your brand. So when you publish a piece of content, you should be pushing that out across all those channels and saying, hey, listen, you're announcing your content to the world. You're saying, here's a new piece of content that I created or curated, which we'll get into in another Hangout, and here it is. You guys can come find it, read it, consume it on whichever platform you're comfortable on. So the more platforms you can get that piece of content out on, with your stamp, your name stamped on it. You're saying, hey, this is my content. Here it is. Come read it.
Ownership.
That's right. You're taking ownership of it. And so, you know, how do you do that? There's only two ways. One would be to have other people share it for you, which is difficult unless you have a really large following already. Which, if you don't, how do you get that? Well, you help it along, and automation is the way to do it. Otherwise, you're going to be doing it manually, and trust me, you won't have enough time in the day to do it. So,
quite right, and it's what human beings do. We can call this a HAM, can't we? If you think of viral, right? Human automation machine.
That's right.
Remember, you heard it here first.
That's right.
So, how is Semantic Mastery going to help people with content syndication and automation strategies. And how are you going to deliver that to the world?
Well, we have some proprietary methods that we've developed. I've been working on for several years myself, actually, and we've in the last several months as a group, we have tested these over and over again, these methods, and they're continually evolving. It's not, we don't have a way that we say is absolutely right, and it's gonna, because it's always evolving. I mean, just almost daily, it's evolving. We're improving on it, but we've got case study after case study that we can share already with this content syndication and how effective it is, and our automation tools that we use, and then we're going to continually be working on additional case studies and sharing ongoing case studies that are still part of what we're working on. So
yeah,
document everything, show it via video. We're going to have bi-weekly hangouts or webinars where we're also going to discuss in kind of a group coaching atmosphere what's working, what's not, experiences that other members of the group are having, and just share it that way.
Nice. So it's fresh stuff, which we've said before is priceless. What's working right now? So,
yeah, and that's part of what we want as our mission is to have bi-weekly live group coaching events, as well as continuous ongoing case studies, so that the content never gets stale. Too often do you buy a training product? I know, because of the many tens of thousands of dollars I've spent on training programs in the last several years, that the content becomes stale, it becomes old, because of everything evolving. And our goal at Semantic Mastery is to always have fresh content.
And that's why you call it a mission, because it is. I can feel that. So it's launching pretty soon. Have you got any dates yet?
No hard dates yet. We know we want to launch in March, hopefully of 2014, hopefully the early part of March. But we're still getting all of our ducks in the row. We've got a lot of content to pull together and put together in a proper fashion. But hopefully, we plan on launching in March.
Okay, and if somebody wants to find out some more, what do they need to do?
They can go to semanticmastery.com. There will also be contact information in the video description underneath this video, and get in touch with us. Opt in to be notified of when we are going to launch, and stay tuned to our weekly hangouts where we talk about other web marketing stuff.
That's brilliant, Bradley. Thank you very much.
See ya.